The rain brushes the city like a quiet metronome. Headlights drift along slick avenues, neon signs breathe in the mist, and the glass towers hold their breath as if the skyline itself is listening. Inside Creston Dynamics, empty hallways glow blue. Conference rooms blink with sleeping screens. Elevator doors whisper shut and open like secrets. Somewhere under that hush, a woman in a slate-gray cardigan tucks a strand of hair behind her ear and keeps walking. Her badge reads Clara Jennings. Most people never notice. They should. Tonight, she carries enough light to change a life she was never supposed to touch. Clara's mornings have a ritual. She arrives before sunrise, when the atrium still echoes. She warms her hands around a paper cup of coffee and studies the building's reflection in the glass. Steel bones, clear skin, floors stacked like decisions. She knows the place better than anyone who doesn't have a name on the wall. 5 years at Creston. Her title says Marketing Analyst 2. But the work is different. She calms fires before they're noticed, fixes tagging errors that skew entire campaigns, and stitches broken dashboards with quiet grace. Her kindness runs on muscle memory, remembering someone's allergy, setting aside charges near the long table, leaving post-its that say only done. Most people thank the inbox, not the hands. It's all right, she tells herself. She believes in usefulness. On the mezzanine above the lobby, the company's history hangs in black and white frames. A garage, a team of 6, a product no one wanted until everyone did. At the center of current history stands Ethan Cole, the CEO who appears in the business journals with a posture that never apologizes. In the lobby, when he crosses the marble, security stands taller. Assistants fall into step and doors find him already open. He's the sort of man whose silence costs more than most people's speech. Clara watches the choreography from a distance. She tells herself that some constellations are beautiful, even if you will never touch the stars. At her desk, she breathes. She organizes lines of data like threads in a loom. She names her files clearly, tucks her hair with the same motion, and keeps a plant by the monitor that refuses to die, even in the company's dry air. By 10, a supervisor compliments a dashboard without knowing she built it. By noon, she's asked to fix a spreadsheet that has belonged to 5 owners, but no one. By 3, she leads a meeting and is mistaken for someone taking notes. The day closes. The city opens. On a Friday that tastes like rain and old coffee, the scandal breaks. Screens across the open floor filled with headlines. Creston Dynamics accused of manipulating failure data. Words like misleading, cover-up, customer harm take positions like soldiers. The stock graph drops like a swallowed breath. Camera crews gather outside as if the building has become a stage. Inside, panic moves faster than reason. Teams forward emails like flares. Legal prepares statements with careful verbs and no ownership. A senior vice president snaps at an intern in front of 10 people, then pats the intern's shoulder with the speed of regret. Clara closes her eyes for a second. She imagines sound as color, red at the perimeter, metallic blue in the center, white noise woven through like static snow. Then she turns back to her screen. A whisper of pattern has been tugging at her for weeks, a subtle drift in customer sentiment that never matched the real-world support logs. Numbers tell stories when you let them. Tonight she listens. The building empties. A custodian pushes a cart down the hallway, humming. The elevators take long naps between floors. On Clara's desk, a blank notepad collects a constellation of pen marks where she almost starts sentences. She dives, pulls 6 months of sample data from the monitoring API, audits tags and timestamps, cross-references customer IDs with warranty return windows. She watches graphs breathe and settle. A thin hairline crack appears in the algorithm's logic. Nothing malicious, just a conditional that routes certain negative events into a reporting buffer they never leave. An innocent design choice if you are kind, a smoking gun if you are not. Clara's pulse lingers at her throat. She knows what this means. It isn't fraud. It's error. And if the world sees error, the fire turns orange instead of black. It can be put out. She drafts a note to a director. Deletes it. She imagines it arriving at the wrong hour, skimming by in a flood. She sees the problem being called nice work and ignored until Monday, while the weekend swallows $1 billion. She opens a new message and types Ethan.Coley. Her finger hovers. She attaches a clear report, steps, evidence, proof of source. She writes plainly without pleading, the way truth asks to be said. She rereads 3 times and removes every self-protective sentence. She signs with her full name as if to say, I will be responsible for my light. She hits send. The room feels different. The air moves. The building seems to notice. Monday, an email arrives like a door opening without sound. A calendar invite appears on her screen with a subject line that feels like an earthquake under velvet. Executive review, Jennings analysis. Whispers follow her through the floor, as if the carpet has opinions. The elevator climbs on a slow exhale. At the top, the hallway widens the way sky widens. The executive level, all glass and air. Inside the corner office, the city shows its complicated face. Ethan stands by the window. He is taller up close and more human. He looks like a man who's been fighting on 20 fronts and sleeping on none. He gestures to a chair. He holds the printed report as one holds a tether in bad weather. He asks questions that reveal he has read every line. He listens with his shoulders as well as his eyes. At one point, he allows fatigue to show at the edge of his mouth like a bruise and says indirectly that her work may have given them a way back to the surface. Clara nods. She keeps her voice even. She explains the bug like a story with a beginning and an end. She offers remedies, stages of communication, ways to say we were mistaken while preserving dignity for the people who built the thing that failed. In the meeting that follows, he calls on her by name. People look, then reclassify her in real time. The perception of a room is a fragile metal. Heat reshapes it. She feels it happen and tries not to flinch. Work becomes a corridor with no clocks. Crisis plans printed at 3 a.m. Rations of sleep disguised as coffee. Ethan asks for her view before he makes statements. He notices, in some quiet, accidental way, that she prefers to stand on the left side of the screen when presenting. He mentions gently that her voice is clearest when she doesn't apologize for existing. One night, under the low purr of the building's ventilation, he tells a short story about the first product his team built in a rented basement. How they ate takeout noodles off a server rack and taped a blanket over a drafty duct with dreams they couldn't afford yet. He doesn't say we, he says they at first, then quietly corrects himself as if something has shifted. Clara studies him the way one studies weather. What indicates storm? What indicates relief? She notices the part of him that is purely procedure and the part that isn't, something watchful, withheld, almost tender. Outside of work, Clara's apartment holds a history and soft focus, a teapot from her mother, a photo on the bookshelf of a small-town hardware store that belonged to her father. The store died during a scandal it did not deserve. One broken ladder sold by a supplier led to an injury and a lawsuit, then rumors, then a sign on the window that said, closed in letters that looked like grief. Clara remembers the quiet of her father's hands after the final inventory, the way he wrapped each screwdriver like an apology to no one. She learned young that public opinion can be architecture and that architecture can topple lives. It made her attentive. It made her fair. It made her careful with proof. At Creston, as the PR team spins sentences with silk and wires, she counsels humility in the draft communications. She suggests language that doesn't make heroes or villains of the wrong people. She writes a plain words version for customers and tapes it to her monitor like a promise. Across the hall, Rowan Pierce, head of communications, watches. He has camera-ready hair and a vocabulary that wears expensive shoes. He appreciates Clara the way a person appreciates a stabilizing force. He calls her invaluable in a tone that is only half performance. In IT, Ben Torres helps her audit server logs for the error's origin. Ben is steady, with a gentle humor and headphone dents in his hair. He respects the chain of custody and data like it's a sacred text. Together they find the precise commit. Together they point to the exact day the logic went awry and the exact combination of conditions that hid it. Clara drafts a remediation plan shaped like a bridge. She sleeps for 4 hours and dreams of green checkmarks blooming like leaves. Ethan reads everything. He answers emails at 2:11 a.m. with clarity that shouldn't exist at that hour. He begins to move with a new rhythm, less command, more collaboration. When a junior engineer trembles in a meeting, he softens the space around the engineer and asks questions in a way that lets dignity breathe. Clara sees the rumor of the man in the magazines. Ruthless, calculating, a shark in a suit, fade under the evidence of the man in the room. The distance between rumor and presence narrows like night sliding into morning. Crises rarely travel alone. Midweek, a separate storm rolls in. Private, unearned, unseen. Ethan receives a message on a phone that is not his work phone. The message is short and carries the weight of a life about to swerve. His younger brother Dylan, the prodigy who wrote early Creston code before vanishing into startups and silence, is back in the city. Dylan is tied to a medical trial and unpaid debts. Someone with sharp teeth is demanding something that should not be given. Ethan compartmentalizes like a professional. He seals this new storm behind his eyes and returns to the conference room as if roofs never leak. But compartments fail under pressure. A detail escapes. A missed word, a breath held too long, Clara notices. She doesn't ask. She adjusts the agenda, shortens the meeting, buys 20 minutes of quiet for a man drowning in noise. Later, alone at her desk, she adds a note to the corner of her mind. Compassion is efficient. She has always believed this. She practices it when no one is watching. That night, the city sighs under heavier rain. Ethan visits a clinic that keeps its lights low and its promises lower. He sits beside a young man who was a boy once, who used to build radios out of broken toys, who used to laugh like a door flinging open to summer. He tells Dylan that help is coming. He doesn't say that the world is thin ice in places. He doesn't say he is afraid. Morning delivers a sharp edge. A new wave of headlines screams louder than the last. Confidential files point to CEO's knowledge of data suppression. The story shows screenshots, metadata, a trail painted in neon from Ethan's personal server to a folder named after an internal code name. The board calls an emergency session. Investors sharpen knives made from spreadsheets. Rowan Pierce manages cameras and constructs language that keeps both doors open. We take these allegations seriously and we believe in our leadership. Inside, the air grows thin. Clara reads the leaked files and feels cold rush up her spine. The code style isn't Ethan's. The timestamps overlap with meetings he couldn't have left. She spots a tell, a small, consistent typo in a function comment that she has seen before in older archives written by Dylan Cole. Her instinct says sabotage, but not the simple kind. Someone wants Ethan to fall and is willing to forge with precision. Someone knows too much about how this place breathes. She goes to Ben in IT. Together they burrow into log trails, correlate server access with building badge data, compare IP histories like fingerprints. The path twists through a dormant account revived for 42 minutes at midnight. It jumps to a personal device that once belonged to Dylan and recently pinged a network near the clinic. Clara closes her eyes. The world narrows to two choices: protect the public truth or protect a private human. She wonders if there is a way to do both. She brings the findings to Ethan in a small conference room with blinds half closed. She tells him carefully without accusation. She watches his face become a map of old loyalties and new fractures. He chooses not to deflect. He chooses to breathe. He says, in a way that avoids theater, that his brother is in trouble and someone is using him or using his remnants to move knives in the dark. Clara thinks of her father wrapping screwdrivers at the end of his store, the cost of rumors, the cost of pride. She tells Ethan that truth is strong enough to walk on its own legs if you hold it by the hand. She offers a plan that includes Grace. They work through the afternoon as if stitching a wound. Clara drafts a statement for the board that neither throws Dylan to the wolves nor shelters wrongdoing. She outlines a transparent audit protocol with external validators. She recommends voluntary disclosure of the algorithmic error, not as a concession but as stewardship. She adds a humane paragraph about fallibility that will likely be cut and includes it anyway. Ethan listens with something like relief braided into respect. He notices that when Clara is focused, her voice steadies against the world. He confesses indirectly that he has built a life where control is mistaken for safety. Clara offers no judgment. She offers a cup of tea from the break room and a silence that does not demand. Later, when everyone leaves, they stand near the window. The city glitters like scattered code. He tells her without detail that he has spent a decade turning himself into architecture so nothing could collapse again. She tells him, also without detail, that she learned to look for the one hinge that decides whether a door opens or not. They do not name the tenderness that grows in the space between admissions. They let it be a quiet companion. Not all storms are weather. Some are people with umbrellas that are actually knives. In communications, Rowan Pierce becomes more helpful than gravity. He schedules press calls, whispers to journalists, frames narratives in narrowed windows. He praises Clara on stage and in private, and his compliments feel like silk stretched over questions. Clara trusts process more than charm. She reviews who had access to old archives, who knew the code name, who could animate a dormant account. She finds that Rowan once worked alongside Dylan in early days, ghostwriting copy for developer blogs, absorbing the language of code like osmosis. Rowan's NDA lists permissions that were never fully revoked. Ben cross-checks. Anomalies appear. The small, consistent typo embedded in a press draft Rowan sent at 12:06 a.m. The exact same typo in the forged comments. Evidence does not shout, it hums. They listen. Clara brings the correlation to Ethan quietly. He does not explode. He tightens around the truth like a fist around a rope. He asks for a slow plan that holds. She outlines one: log preservation, legal oversight, a controlled confrontation that centers facts, not theater. The next day, in a conference room with polite lighting, Rowan arrives with a smile. He speaks about loyalty the way actors speak about love, beautifully, in ways that dissolve under forensic light. Clara stays in the corner, soft-voiced, unimportant seeming, and asks to confirm minute details. She invites Rowan to clarify, then shows him a calendar he cannot explain, a server hop that shouldn't exist, a printer log that prints him into the room he denied. His smile chases the exit and does not find it. He tells a story about protecting the company from a worse scandal, about getting ahead of the narrative, about temporary fires saving forests. He believes this, perhaps. He also believes in survival. He does not believe in the quiet integrity that holds a line. Legal steps in. Security steps in with gentleness. The building exhales. The board wants thunder. They want a statement with teeth. They want someone to wear the consequence like a billboard. In an internal memo, a proposal surfaces that suggests Ethan take public responsibility for not catching the leaks sooner, for tolerating a culture that allowed it. It's a clever move for short-term optics and a cruel one for actual justice. Clara reads the draft and feels heat in her face. She remembers her father, the sign, the neighborhood gossip that sounded like concern. She asks for 5 minutes on the agenda, then takes 3. She explains that they must not substitute a public offering of one man's image for the slow mercy of systemic repair. She uses numbers and she uses memory without naming it. She keeps her voice even. It is not typical for a mid-level analyst to speak that way to a board. But the moment makes its own rules. Olivia Hart, the chair, watches Clara with a gaze that has measured many storms. Olivia asks 3 sharp questions and hears the answers. She says the plan will be evidence-driven, not hunger-driven. She thanks Clara in a way that bends a future. The memo changes. So does Clara's place in the building, even if only in the slight adjustment of chairs around a table. At the clinic, Dylan's condition staggers. The trial is both promise and gamble. The people with sharp teeth lose their leverage and reveal their anger. Ethan increases security quietly, refuses to weaponize his brother's vulnerability for sympathy, and pays what must be paid without pride. He carries the strain in the set of his shoulders. He makes room for grief by tidying corners no one sees. Clara learns to bring pauses into rooms like water into a garden. She slows her speech when he speeds up. She adds clarity where he takes weight. She becomes a hinge. She does this without announcing it, and because she does not announce it, it works. One evening, alone at her apartment, she takes out the photo of the hardware store and sits with it. She lets the old ache visit without overstaying. She decides to call her mother in the morning and tell her a small, good thing, that kindness can exist at the top of buildings. 2. Reporters look for endings like cats look for warm laptops. A long-form piece lands on a major site with a narrative arc already assigned: the fall of a visionary. The article braids true details with almost true in a way that seduces the casual mind. It quotes a source familiar with the matter, a phrase that means someone with a voice and an agenda. The stock dips again, then shivers. Employees carry boxes of optimism like fragile glass. Slack channels become emergency rooms for morale. Clara knows they have enough truth now to step into light. She knows waiting will cost more than speaking. She tells Ethan this in a sentence that leaves no room for self-protection. He listens, he nods, he decides. They prepare a release that is the opposite of spin. They publish the error's origin, the exact remediation, the audit trail, the measures, the independent oversight. They include a short paragraph on organizational repentance that survived legal review by a miracle powered by Olivia Hart's spine. They do not throw Dylan under any buses because people are not buses and buses are not redemption. The world, accustomed to spectacle, pauses. The market, schooled in cynicism, recalculates. Customers see themselves respected and respond with something that feels like forgiveness, wearing boots. It is not triumph. It is repair. Repair is better, even with truth released. One door remains closed. Rowan has agreed to cooperate, to name the shadow network that helped package the leak, to sign a statement that prioritizes harm repaired over image preserved. But he asks for a trade, a private assurance from Ethan that the story will call the sabotage an overcorrection born of zeal, not of ambition sharpened into harm. Ethan and Clara meet him in a small room where the lights are too white. Ethan stands a little behind the chair, as if anchoring himself to gravity. Clara sits, notebook closed, hands steady. Rowan speaks in perfect sentences. He presents his terms like polished stones. He believes he is negotiating perception. Clara realizes she is witnessing a man who learned that only grand gestures leave marks. She counters with facts that do not plead. She frames accountability not as punishment, but as geometry. Actions trace shapes that must be acknowledged. Ethan lowers the temperature of his voice and says, without ornament, that leadership means bearing weight others cannot. He will accept the part of the story that belongs to him, that he built systems that allowed loyalty to be rewarded over curiosity for too long, that he mistook speed for strength. He will not accept the lie that manipulation was planned because it was not. He will not sell his brother to save his own image. Rowan's eyes narrow, not in malice, but in calculation. He signs, he leaves. The room grows larger. Ethan looks at Clara. The gratitude in his face is quiet and complete. It is the sort that does not need words because it understands the price of them. Weeks pass. The scandal fades from headline to sidebar to memory. The system fix rolls out like careful medicine. Independent auditors stamp their initials with reluctant respect. Customers write messages that sound like neighbors on a porch after a storm. Not praise, but presence. Creston holds an internal gathering that resists the word celebration. The stage is small, the lights warm, the snacks sincere. Ethan steps forward with a paper in his hand that he never looks at. He speaks about rebuilding as an art form. He thanks departments that held the line. He praises the engineers who wrote clearer code than fear. Then he tells a story, not about heroes, but about hinges. He says a company is 100,000 moments where someone could let a door slam or hold it open. He describes a night when a report arrived like a hand at the shoulder. He says the name Clara Jennings, and the room turns to find the person the name belongs to. Applause lifts like weather. Clara is not used to air moving toward her. She studies the floor for a second, then remembers to stand up. The sound in the room changes shape. People who never learned her face learn it now. After, near the side door where introverts find oxygen, Ethan thanks her without theatrics. He tells her that she did more than save a public story. She taught him to prefer the kind of truth that doesn't need to shine. He asks how he can return the weight she carried. Clara says that the best payment is structural. Better code reviews, better humility, better listening. He promises with a specificity that sounds like policy. The plant by her monitor gets repotted and does not protest. Her title changes in an email that also changes her place at tables. She is offered a team and a mandate, responsible data practices. She accepts, with a condition that reads more like hope than power, that the team's success be measured not only by speed and revenue, but by the number of times they have prevented harm. Olivia Hart approves with a checkmark that feels like a nod. On a quiet afternoon, Ben from IT stops by with a box. Inside are archived backup drives labeled in Dylan's careful handwriting from years ago. Ben says they turned up during a storage cleanup. He thought she might want to see the earliest logs to cement the audit trail. Clara plugs one in. She finds an old README file written by Dylan when Creston was more dream than doctrine. In it, a note appears like a message in a bottle. If this ever scales, please remember to make the error messages kind. People read them, not machines. She sits back, eyes burning a little. She realizes the vision did not begin with conquest, but with consideration. Somewhere along the way, Velocity tried to steal the steering wheel. She prints the note and pins it above her desk, where anyone can see. Later, Ethan sees the printout. He reads it twice, then once again as if practicing an old song. He asks for a digital copy and sends it to the entire company with a subject line that contains no exclamation marks and still lands like one. This is who we said we would be. Let's choose it again. At the clinic, Dylan's trial inches forward. There are good days with bright windows and bad days with folded horizons. Ethan sits with him often, learning to be present without fixing. Clara visits once, not to perform compassion, but to offer company that doesn't demand. Dylan, who used to write code like breath, jokes softly that he is glad someone finally made his brother look up from the skyline to the street. The joke carries no mischief. It carries a blessing. Clara's mother calls on Sunday evenings. They talk recipes and weather, and now pride that does not embarrass either of them. The photo of the hardware store stays where it always stayed, but it looks different in the frame, as if covered by newly cleaned glass. In the lobby at Creston, people greet Clara by name. Some ask real questions and mean the listening. A junior analyst lingers to say that she inspired him to submit a small fix he thought no one would care about. She tells him that small fixes saved the company. She is not performing, she is remembering. On an evening edged with gold, Clara and Ethan stand on the terrace outside the top floor. The city is all soft focus and sharp edges. Down below, a bus exhales, and a cyclist chases his own shadow across the bridge. They talk about policy, then about music, then about the strange thing that happens when two people carry a heavy story together and come away lighter. They do not name anything beyond friendship and respect, because naming is not always the bravest act. Sometimes patience is. What exists between them is clear enough to shape breath and gentle enough to remain free. He has a life to repair and a brother to anchor. She has a team to build and a promise to keep. And under it all runs a current that says, the heart is wiser when not rushed. The rain returns, not as a punishment, but as a rhythm the city remembers. Streets shine, windows hum. Somewhere, A janitor hums a song that holds more truth than headlines. Clara walks through the lobby, not larger than life, simply fully present in it. Security nods with real recognition. The receptionist smiles like someone who understands the before and the after. By the doors, she pauses and turns to look up, at the frames on the wall, at the long reflection of the building, at the version of herself who used to slip past like air. She breathes in, not to disappear, but to arrive. The lesson rests easy in the air, almost visible. The world applauds the loud, but the quiet ones build the bridges we all cross. Power without compassion is glass without light. And redemption, when it is real, is made of small choices held consistently by leaders who listen and by invisible hands that refuse to stay unseen. Be someone who notices. Hold the door. Ask the second question. Believe that a single calm report, a single steady kindness, can alter the course of a life that already seemed set. If this story found you at the right time, let it travel. Share it with someone who feels unnoticed. Subscribe, so we can keep building quiet bridges together, one human story at a time.